Italian racing video game behemoth Milestone, one of my favourite developers since the Screamer days in the 1990s, and nowadays handling a lot of licensed racing franchises, from racing bikes to toy cars. Now they're tackling the world of monster trucks with their massive wheels, radical flips, and all the spectacle it gives. Time to check out Monster Jam Showdown on Xbox Series X. After a series of developers alternating one another with this license to varying degrees of quality and success, it's Milestone's turn. For those unaware, racing these Monster Jam vehicles with comically large tyres is absolutely nothing like the ones we find in most racing video games, where wheels tend to be pretty much glued to the track, maximising grip. Handling these massive beasts is a whole different experience, with their four-wheel drive and giant size allowing for all kinds of balancing acts, allowing you to do wheelies and such, but also demanding careful attitude when speeding into a corner to avoid flipping over the massive weight of the rubber. Doing so is quite fun and accessible, with various arcade-like settings and assists to further help those unfamiliar with this sort of car handling, turning what may seem like a tough ask into, potentially, even a newbie-friendly arcade racer. Racer, of course, may be slightly misleading, because much of the time spent at the steering wheel of these cars is stunt competitions. In various arenas inside stadiums, but also out in deserts and forests, players have to use the available ramps, obstacles and more, challenging them to link as many radical moves as possible. Drifts, wheelies either on the back or the front, flips in the air and so much more. Landing on the roof or going too long without a stunt interrupts the combo, forcing the player to restart from low scoring moves again. There's two different modes for stunts, one allowing for complete freedom in the choice, with the other allowing to increase the combo multiplier only when specific stunts are performed, of which selection is always a lottery of randomness. But if you're here to bang wheels rather than stunt, that's alright. Monster Jam Showdown has various different racing modes as well. Once again, in a solid variety of biomes, from deserts, forests, snow, essentially USA locations, players get to either play classical races or a weird zombie tag variation, where two selected drivers have to stay in front of the others to turn them into their own team's racers. There's even exciting 1 versus 1 races inside specular type paths inside the stadiums, which are particularly fun because you don't often see where your opponent is, and the real push and rush to the line happens at the finish line on these parallel roads. What's more important about these races, and the stunt modes too to be fair, is that it's almighty fun. After nailing how MotoGP bikes, Hot Wheels toy cars, rally cars and more shall feel, they really went out of their way to make these Monster Jam machines feel heavy, demanding, yet fun and accessible in an arcade way. I absolutely did not expect it, but I've found myself rather addicted to the gameplay loop of both the races and stunts, finding myself in the mood for several hours of competition in a row as I got through the game's meaty, if rather repetitive, campaign. The game has both an online multiplayer suite and even split screen, though I've not been able to test out the former nearly enough due to the pre-release window having almost nobody online at my most convenient times. I plan to revisit it all in the future, of course, but in the meantime I spent most of my time getting through the aforementioned single player campaign, which is, as said, pretty packed with content, though rather unambitious. There's not really a story, there's no named characters, there's no meaningful progression besides vehicle and skin unlocks. Like it often happens with racers, it's just a boring set of events with barely any glue holding them together. At least the amount of vehicles is quite large, with already 40 to choose from, albeit they all behave completely identical, with only their funky visuals changing. There's so many Monster Jam classics, both from the real life races and the toy lines: the iconic Megalodon, El Toro Loco, the IP crossover of Bakugan Dragonoid, or the brilliant Sparkle Smash. Of course, the funny shapes of the chassis don't last long sometimes, as the various hits and bumps can tear apart these great looks to reveal what's underneath: machinery. Most trucks even have multiple other skins to unlock, with extra colour schemes and variations tied to various objectives and achievements to complete. Some are needlessly grindy, whilst others take no real effort to obtain. Monster Jam Showdown isn't just a fun game, it's also quite polished and looks great. On Xbox Series X, the game looks crisp, shiny, with great particle effects from dirt, snow, rain and more. Performance has also been very solid, bar some occasional frame drops during some intense crashes and some freezes that had me reboot the game at times. But these all seem like fixable issues with a handful of patches. My main gripe with the game has nothing to do with the technical aspect, it's all about the effective variety and depth of the title. Indeed, all races take place in only 3 biomes, 4 if you want to count stadiums as one, with the turns, jumps and areas repeating a lot due to it being a small zone that keeps being reused with different layouts. Stunt events are pretty much always the same, only the scores and the placement of ramps and other items really change. That means that once you figure out how to tackle the various events, running through the campaign is a huge exercise in repetition, and unlocking all skins for each vehicle can be a little tedious, though it doesn't take more than 20 or so hours as of now. More biomes, more track configurations and more variety in stunt events, perhaps even a little bit more gameplay depth, would have perhaps made Monster Jam Showdown quite unmissable. Still, I had a great time with Milestone's take on the Monster Jam world. The gameplay is tight and surprisingly accessible, with these behemoth vehicles bouncing and flipping left and right in such fun and satisfying ways in both racing and stunt modes. With a great technical background too, what's a bit lacking is the lack of inventive activities in the single player campaign, with merely a largely repetitive sequence of events to beat with little reason or rhyme. One that even shows how little variety the game itself has as of now before all DLC or eventual sequels arrive. Personally, that's a prospect I look forward to because Monster Jam Showdown's base gameplay is really good, so I'd love to see the format get expanded upon from here on out. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this review, be sure to hit like, hit subscribe, and why not ring that notification bell so that we can let you know when we've got some fresh content. And we'll see you next time.